I kind of wanted to make this because I think it's sort of important. So, I don't know how I haven't talked about this or read about it. It's pretty scripted. I'm watching Mike the Vegan, the pointless weird anti-carb guy on YouTube who says plants are bad. And the anti-plant guy brought up anti-nutrients, which got me thinking. What if non-vegans only point out the health issues of a vegan diet because they are concerned about us? Well, no. The reason I say they don't care because it's not the point of concern for them. For them, it's a gotcha moment rather than, any sort of concern or even skepticism for that matter. Like, it's just a bias. They hear something has a bad thing and they immediately associate that. It's pretty much the equivalent of, I don't know, like there's not many things you can equate it to in terms of health, but I think morally maybe you can say that it's like saying one rapist in a group is just the entire bunch, meaning that it's bad for everyone's mental health. But you can take it two ways. You can either use it against them or you can use it for them. Well, I pretty much don't need script there, but I'll explain it anyway. To be honest, I think like most vegans, and it's primarily non-vegans saying it, they're pretty much too dumb to even point this out and actually show any concern, like a caring manner. I've got fucking stomach aches. It's stress related, just before anyone says. They use emotion as an argument, which is ineffective in demonstrating a point. And the point should be a concern for someone's health. Because of how it's delivered, it ends up sounding like, I'm wrong, you're right, but I don't want you to be right. So that sort of thing. But this also reminds me of a study that came out saying that depression was more common in people who followed a vegetarian/vegan lifestyle. A bunch of people who don't read or think about this study make it out that foods are the cause of that. But that wasn't what it was to my knowledge. I don't read it, I've actually heard people talk about it. But as usual, like from the studies that I have tried to read, there's like random bizarre facts in it. So speaking from my own personal experience and from vegans and vegetarians I interacted with, they've all had some sort of hardships that they've experienced them, and some more severe than others, and that ends up causing depression, I think. And speaking personally again, I have a few traumas that I think have caused it. Not besides being lonely, but thinking about my past and childhood, like that can definitely cause it. There's also maybe a genetic argument that could be made about depression, because I think that's also what I have. I'm actually fine with where I am, but something about depression just takes over my body. But on this topic again, about non-vegans saying all this, even dumber, it just baffles me that people can't do even the most minuscule amount of research to figure out why people follow veganism or vegetarianism and just eat animal products to cure them. It's actually sadistic, probably psychopathic, because this is the equivalent of torturing victims, which animal products are to, they torture animals. But we're suggesting that for others is like double the amount. To explain this briefly, I put more weight on actions, because there's consequences to all actions, and that sort of ties into morality. And just minimising the consequences is the most difficult thing you can do. That's what most vegans do, and some vegetarians. Point being, people take up a lifestyle for the benefit of others, which is more than what non-vegans do. Which is an interesting way to look at it, and probably the smartest thing I've ever said. But also, if you're concerned about vegan/vegetarian's health, do research on disabilities and sexuality/race, for fuck's sake. Because there are plenty of people who go vegan from the hardships related to those, related to an inherent trait you can't change. And what I mean by that is the hardships influence that change to go vegan. One was for sure, like being autistic, having empathy from that, and global learning difficulties. But what actually turned me vegan was besides the Gary Yourofsky thing in 2016, it's actually what I remembered from that, which is like leads into the seed planting thing. I was just sitting there one day, December 2019, eating the chocolates I got for Christmas and watching a Persona 5 playthrough. I remember it quite vividly for some reason. I remember the playthrough part as well. It's like inside a palace, I think. Or maybe it wasn't the palace, it was just the world. It has to be in the world, because I remember them going to the train station, and after this place that they go through, they fight an angel thing. It's weird, but I remember I was eating chocolate and watching that. Obviously dairy chocolate. And that reminded me of how dairy cows are treated as I was getting sick from the chocolate. And I was thinking, what the fuck? Why am I complaining when they have it worse? And that just clicked to me. I don't need this chocolate, and the fact I'm getting so much of it that I'm getting sick. I think that just shows that I don't need chocolate. Like dairy chocolate, I mean. I'm sure I could have it in moderation, but that has a negative moral weight because of how it harms animals. So I just couldn't justify it. But back on the thing about disabilities, as it's become important and more clearer to me recently from a former ableist, I think, called me. It's widely misunderstood by the public and actually ignored. I say this a lot now because I realise the source of my own problems are my autism and global learning difficulties. Overcoming them is no easy feat, but holy shit, other people are the biggest obstacle. And that's why I think it's important that people educate themselves on disability in order to help others. Like, that is key. And in a way, you are actually being discriminative if you're telling vegans to, eat meat or just stop being vegan in some way. Because it's disregarding all the pain we've gone through, all the suffering, all the hardships, and those can be related to the inherent traits that we have. It's just, I don't know, sit back and think, if you had all these hardships for your inherent traits, or just imagine you have them, and you're discriminated against quite badly, how much would you empathise for others? It also reminds me of something else, like what people do with that information, actually. I think one of my friends said it quite well. I think Fred anyway, I don't know. It's hard to tell nowadays because people don't like how autism makes me speak. I get misunderstood because of that, ironically. They said how people end up hurting others and I think that's generally true. That has definitely happened to me. It gets you thinking, like, how do you redirect it? I think the best way is to show compassion. Because obviously hurting others, I think, is why exactly people are in pain and end up hurting others as a result. It's a big cycle. At a certain point you have to stand up for yourself too. Like, make sure that that person isn't hurting others anymore. I think that's all I have for the vegan discussion thing here. So yeah, anti-vegans don't actually care about health, because it's just a gotcha. They just want any reason to justify their bad habits or not being a vegan. It's lazy, really, and unintelligent. I think when you're not seeking to be a better person, that's when you have a lot of issues. And when we have issues, obviously. Because, people do that at the top in corporations. They step on people. They don't use intelligence. They don't care about anyone. That just makes people miserable. And when you have that, you don't actually improve in quality. It actually makes people not a better person. And in some cases, you can just make yourself a better person anyway. It depends on, I think, how intelligent you are, what hardships you have. I think that's all about the vegan thing. I think the other thing I can say is that I sort of might be getting some proper help now. I'm still not in a great mood because I'm in a ton of physical pain from stress again, and maybe anxiety. It's a bit of both, I think. And it causes like 9 out of 10 pain, bowel movements, and it's so bad. The doctor ain't taking it seriously. This help should hopefully either make me be able to grow in confidence or overcome my anxiety to a point where I can actually leave the house. And I think my biggest anxiety as well, which I only discovered recently upon contemplating why I'm scared to travel, is because I don't find myself enjoying wasting my time if I do waste it. I'm very productive, and I think that causes issues as well. I prefer being here at my computer playing games, but at the same time, I don't like being out because people just ignore me, because I'm pretty much mute, and I can't speak properly, as you can tell. And I have processing issues. I've been trying to tell people about getting this quote-unquote therapy, and I just stutter. I can't actually say it for some reason. Like, there's this processing issue that I have that is undiagnosed. Like, it might be global learning difficulties, I don't know. Just for some reason I can't say it. I can't formulate the words to say what I mean. It's also a common thing in autism, I think, to have that. But for me it's more to do with processing it. I can figure things out eventually, but this thing I just can't. And also because I don't have absolute certainty on it, that makes it harder. Like, I'm just getting an assessment for therapy, but I think it's difficult to talk about it when you don't know what it is. There's just kind of like no point in it. Yeah. Well, I think that's everything. I just want to talk about that because I felt it was important, and I haven't done a vegan discussion in a while. I feel like this one was more important than others because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. and it comes from non-vegans usually. But it's just got me thinking, like, what if the narrative was changed from non-vegans? What if it was a concern for people's health rather than a gotcha? It kind of ties into, again, that evidence thing. Well, the reason I can talk about this so confidently is because I thought about it. I've had lots of time to think about this and to find out answers that I think not many other vegans can. So I just talk about it because I think there's a positive moral weight to talking about it where I can influence change. And I actually encourage people to hold me accountable and criticise me for any negative moral weight. Because I think it's really important. And people underestimate that as well. Like, Jesus Christ, just going on a tangent again. The way people treat those with a paraphilic disorder is quite disgusting. Obviously, the disorder is because of what it does, but just the way people treat people with that. Like, these are inherent traits. This is no different to discriminating against someone you don't understand, who is, say, disabled or, I don't know, like, different sexuality or race. Like, you're harassing people for something that they can't change permanently, but can only treat temporarily. And, if history has taught us anything, that sort of treatment gets us nowhere. It's regression, not progression. But it's a good thing about the modern era, I guess. The only good thing the internet's for. I got that mixed up there. I don't know how to say it. The internet's good for some things, but not others. All that information on paraphilic disorder is so important. It's good that it's getting out there. Because I think that's the only way to create effective change. And also, the better we understand it, I think the better the treatments can happen. You know, a weird example, like a paedophile could just buy some weird toy that's like, you know, childlike. But that can be a sort of treatment for all their issues. I think that should only come from having a strong desire than just having it right off the bat, especially as a sensory pleasure. As again, it ties into actions having consequences. Too much of one thing can't be a good thing. Yeah, that's everything I have to talk about. I don't know what to say, yeah. Like, I don't know, comment. I want to talk about more things, to be honest.